Good morning. Welcome back to 1160 AM KBDT News Talk Sports. We're JP, Kathy, and the crew. We come to you live Monday through Friday from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. You can catch us on Facebook at JP, Kathy, and the crew. Good lively debate today between Sid and myself, and also one of the members of the crew calling in, Cleo. So if you get a chance, go on our Facebook page, catch what that was all about. Also, don't forget you can pick us up at Alexa. Just walk by. She's listening anyways. And say 1160 AM KBDT, or go to bigdtalk.com. You can catch us there, or go to your TuneIn app and download 1160 AM KBDT. It is currently 8:35 here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Good morning, Sid.
Good morning, JP. Right now, we are looking at clouds and rain today, high of 66. Much colder tonight, low of 33, rain and sleet likely. A winter storm watch is in effect with snow accumulation possible tomorrow. Stay tuned to 1160 AM KBDT for more information.
All right. So mental health moment is today. And of course, always, as always, we have with us Steve Dunn, and we've got Patty Gila from the Something for Kelly Foundation and Morgan Foundation. Good morning to both of you.
Good morning, John.
Good morning, John.
And then we've got the very lovely Delisa Deutsch. Deutsch, right?
That
like
is
the Deutsch
correct.
mark, right?
Yes, yeah,
okay, good.
absolutely.
With us again, joining us, and so super excited. Apple Counseling, right?
Yes, Apple Counseling and Consulting in Frisco.
There you go. All right. Wanted to make sure I got that. It's not a bad memory for an old guy.
Not bad.
Sydney.
Old is right.
Yeah. Yeah, just remind you of your age, Grandpa. Anyways. Yes, can I help you?
Good morning. I wanted to mention something. Some people who are paying attention to our PSAs were expecting to see or to hear a school nurse and a counselor for guidance this morning. And I just wanted to welcome Delisa, but explain briefly why they are not here. The way I look at it is we honored first responders recently, and I considered the school nurse and the counselor to be a kind of first responder for our students. The reason that they are not here today is because they were doing their work. A student had her father taken from her a few days ago, and they need to be there and available for her as she returns to school. And the trauma that is associated with that is pretty close to indescribable. So I just wanted to say that they will be coming back, and we honor the work that they're doing, and we welcome you this morning.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us.
Well, and thank you again for the last minute coming up and being a real good
Pinch hitter.
No, not even pinch hitter, just a good sport.
Yeah, good sport.
You know, about being willing to come and do this. And thanks, Steve, for all the work he scrambled to be able to make that happen yesterday.
Absolutely. And in part of that shows how fortunate we are to have such incredible experts here in the North Texas area that I could make a few phone calls. Delisa stepped right to the plate on a very important topic as well. So we're just thrilled.
Thank you.
Take 10, 15 seconds. Tell us a little bit about your background, and then let's jump right into the topic.
Absolutely. So I'm a licensed professional counselor supervisor. I have my master's degree in counseling psychology with a specialty in marriage and family. I work with individuals, couples, and families. And I really enjoy doing lifespan work, the family development. So across the lifespan, we have different stages that the family goes through. And when you're aware of what those different stages are, what they look like, you can work with the family unit for optimal development. And blended families is a very common experience in our culture today, and helping these families achieve that adjustment and focusing on the best way to get there is something I'm really passionate about. And it just so happens I'm going through right now in my life.
Oh, really?
Yes.
So personal experience.
Personal experience. But yes, prior to that, it was an area of passion as well.
Delisa, as well, you have a background in the Army Reserve as well. Is that correct?
I do, yes.
And you are a lieutenant colonel?
I'm a lieutenant colonel. Yeah, I joined when I was 17. I was private back then, but yeah, I'm a lieutenant colonel.
Very good.
31 years.
Okay, going to our topic today. We know in terms of marriages and divorces, the statistics are pretty alarming. It appears that first marriages have about a 50% divorce rate. If you get married a second time, it goes up to 60%. And the third time, about 73% divorce rate.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to, give you a little bit of history about actually that 50% divorce rate. We're all familiar with that number, but that number's been around since about the 1980s, and it's actually a bit lower now. Thankfully, I mean, not a lot lower. It's about 42 to 43%, but it has been going down over the years. So that's good news, but it's going down in part because people are getting married a little bit later. So that helps the divorce rate when we get married a little bit later. And some other factors affect, whether or not we get divorced as well. Our finances, how, people who tend to be a little bit more educated, not necessarily formal education, but have had some life experiences and tend to be a little bit more stable in their life, tend to get divorced less.
And of course, more often than not, kids are involved. And when you're on marriage number 2 or 3, it's very likely that you're going to have kids on both sides. And years ago, the ideal was put forth on a show called The Brady Bunch.
Yes. Yes. And everything was solved in 30 minutes.
Or less, absolutely. Could you give us more realistic insight into what exactly a blended family is and some of the issues that are involved?
Absolutely. So a blended family is any family with a step parent, a stepchild, or a half sibling. So that's by definition what a blended family is. And I think the really most important thing is that, to have realistic expectations. People are not going to immediately, come in and have the siblings be best friends and start sharing clothes and, going to the mall together, just having these realistic expectations because, you may have, the parents are, blissful and happy, but being mindful that that might not always be the case for the children. So having realistic expectations is super important.
Delisa, how do those expectations vary with the age differences of the kids? I'm certain that at a very young age, it might be easier if they don't really have a lot of history apart from the step parent, but once they get to be teenagers, maybe that's a little bit harder because they have all of this already inbuilt experience with the prior biological parent and that experience. So talk a little bit about the age differences and how you treat that.
Yeah. So we talked earlier about the family development.
Right.
You absolutely have to consider the individual ages of each of the children. So developmentally, younger children tend to adapt a little bit more easily. And then adolescents are kind of trying to develop their own identity. So they may not always want to be a part of the family bonding kind of process. Yeah. They're kind of wanting to do their own thing. Younger adolescents, you may be able to kind of get them into some new family rituals and family game night and things like that. But older adolescents tend to want to go and do their own thing.
Let's go to the basics. Let's get back to the basics for just a moment. Perspective is everything, right? And it's like you said, the couple may be blissful, but they're bringing these children in together, right? So what is it that kids are looking for in life? Like, what are they wanting from their adult parent leaders?
Yeah. So one thing that's really important is that, parents are communicating not only with each other about what the expectations are, and what role the step parent is going to play, in terms of discipline or, a counselor, kind of that role, but also that parents are communicating with each other. So communication is super important so that the kids are not feeling confused, lonely, that the kids are still spending time with their parent, that they're not feeling neglected, that they don't have that one-on-one time with their parent anymore. So it's really important that everybody is communicating.
So one of our listeners, one of the members of the crew asks a question. Is it true that after the age of 7, it's more difficult for kids?
It tends to be more difficult in the adolescent ages. Younger kids are fairly adaptable up to about early adolescence, like 12 to 14. And then at about 15 and up, and these are not hard numbers, about 15 and up, they tend to want to be more independent.
So I was very fortunate to have a daughter, but I didn't have her till she was 6.
Mm-hmm.
Now you heard my language, right? My language wasn't stepdaughter, it was daughter, and she's my kid. And in the state of Texas, the law is clear that a step parent possesses the same rights as a natural parent does. A lot of people don't know that. A lot of step parents think, well, I can just marry you, not having to deal with your kids, and I'll live in the same house, but that's all I'm doing.
Yeah.
No, that's not the case. Congratulations. When you signed up, you got the whole package, buddy.
Yeah.
And so what kind of approach should a parent coming into a new marriage or new relationship that already has a child involved, what kind of attitude does that person need to have going into that relationship?
Yeah. Parent together, because parenting separately allows for a lot of room for triangulation and potentially separating that couple from one another. And if the marriage isn't strong, then the family can't be strong.
Well, so it goes back to the old airplane adage, right? Put the mask on you first, then your child.
Absolutely.
So that you can save the child. All right. So strengthen your marriage. So that's make sure your marriage is strong, and then make sure you are co-parenting and communicating amongst each other.
Absolutely.
So 3 solid tips when going into a blended family, right? Okay. So how do we get adolescents to blend with us? They want to do their own thing. We get that. So how do we allow them to do their own thing, but then at the same token know that there's going to be blending together time?
Yeah. I think that it comes down to starting your own family rituals, whether it be a family game night or we're going to watch a movie this night of the week, you can pick it. We're going to go bowling, just starting some things that, having them help cook dinner, just starting something that is your own family unit and getting their input into what that might be.
So go ahead, Steve.
Delisa, are there some unique challenges that stepdads, that men have to go through as well? For example, we men, we fix things. We fix everything. And if our new wife has kids from a prior marriage relationship, they already had the trauma of a divorce that may manifest itself in inappropriate conduct or behavior. And of course, as men, we want to fix that. How difficult is it to tell them that, well, you need to really collaborate with your wife and address this, and just don't go charging in trying to fix things?
Well, yeah, I mean, it takes time. And even as a woman, I want things to be, nice and comfortable and harmonious, but it takes time. It can take 2 to 4 years for a blended family to get that nice gelled, place that you want it to be. But especially for men, what we have found out from step kids of both genders is they prefer verbal praise and compliments from their stepfathers rather than physical, hugs and, comforting touches, things like that. That is something that we do know from stepkids.
So what are some issues that kids do have? For example, do you see more instances of anxiety or depression? What mental health issues do you routinely see in kids going into a blended family relationship?
Yes. Anxiety, depression, school issues, maybe changes to grades, school avoidance, really any changes to sleep or eating that might be indicative that they're struggling.
But that sounds like every teenager every day, whether it's blended or not.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Welcome to teenage life.
Welcome to being a teen, right?
If it's a change from their normal, then that's when you want to pay attention.
Well, yeah. And I think that is a truly fantastic, great statement for every teenager, whether you're a blended family or not.
Absolutely.
If there's a change, watch for the behavior. The behavior will tell you there is one, and then identify it, find it, and help try to resolve the issue before it gets to be too ugly or too late, for
Absolutely.
sure. Stay with the conversation. Join us on Facebook at JP, Kathy, and the crew. During the mental health moment, we do not stop the conversation. We'll be right back with weather and traffic and closing up with Delisa. All right, we'll continue the conversation. Yeah, because teenagers they have a rough run anyways, right?
Sure.
When I was a kid, I didn't have all of this information thrown at me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I had to go to a library and actually do the Dewey Decimal System and pull a card to go find a book, right?
Right.
I didn't have so much information thrown at me. I didn't have a cell phone, which is basically a mini laptop or mini computer with all this power in my hands as a 13-year-old or 12-year-old. And so how does an adult family member navigate through not only the challenges of a blended family, but all the things that today brings for an average teenager?
Yeah. I mean, absolutely, it's communication. I cannot overstress communication enough. And if the parents plan and prepare prior, and yet there are a lot of good resources, and I'm happy to give you some books, you know, kind of broken down developmentally by the different ages.
So hold that for when we come back to the radio on the books.
Absolutely.
I want to give that on Stone Radio.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of them, so I'll also give them so you can post them.
Okay.
You know, but I think giving them something that they can kind of have a framework to understand it. And then, you know, having constant conversations, you know, just because you set those expectations doesn't mean they stay put. You have to revisit them.
So what happens when the kid says, "I'm not talking to you"?
Yeah, expect that.
Right. But then he doesn't talk to you. Then what do you do?
Yeah, you know, it's one of those things where you plant a seed and you say, you know, hey, this is what I would like. This is how I see things going. And, you know, you just kind of like you are a team with your spouse, and then you kind of just, you know, hope that seed will grow.
So what happens? We get 2 weeks into changed behavior and we're even worse now. And now we're wanting to change our clothes. Like you come up home with clothes I've never seen before. You come home with a piercing now, tattoo now. And I'm trying to talk to you. I'm making you come to the piercing get you going there.
I'm paying attention there, John. I'm really going to be very careful with that response, though.
But, you know, I mean, I'm talking to my kid every day. I'm making them sit down at the dinner table with me every night. And I'm paying attention to my kid.
Yeah.
And the behavior is continuing to spiral.
You really, at that point, may think about going to see a professional to help with that conversation, you know, because if you're checking in with your spouse, you're doing, you know, regular daily check-ins, I recommend, and you're checking in with your kiddos, you're doing like weekly family meetings and things are just not turning around, you need to, you know, get a professional involved. And I obviously am a family systems person. And so I believe in treating the family. That might not be every single time, but that is a regular necessity to do family work.
Delisa,
Hey, John.
Yeah, Sid.
Hey, when we come back, you got a couple of questions, one from Michelle, one from Gail. You might want to ask those. They look like they're pretty good. So.
Well, I'm going to let you go ahead and ask them. Are you okay with that?
Yeah, I'm fine with it. I just, you know, you got four in the booth there. I didn't need to be a fifth voice jumping in.
No. I want a fifth voice jumping in.
But we love your voice, though, Sid.
Uh-oh, the love affair begins.
I don't want you saying it, sir.
We love your voice, Sid.
I'm
Be careful.
Thank
Be
you.
careful,
One of the
Stevie.
ladies could step up.
Be careful, Steve. You can get blackballed for that, man.
Bada boom, bada.
Okay, Sid and JD, the black ball. Yeah. Yeah, what do they call that again? A comeback?
Call back.
Good morning. Welcome back to 1160 AM KBDT News Talk Sports. We're JP, Kathy, and the crew, and we are proud to present to you the Mental Health Moment every Tuesday from 8:34 to 8:59. And we've got in studio with us, we've got the Something for Kelly Foundation with Patty Giolet. I love saying that name. And with Steve Dunn with the Morgan Foundation as well. Joining us today, our expert, Delisa Deutsch with Apple Counseling and Consulting out of Frisco. We're talking blended families, and if you want to participate, we do continue the conversation during breaks and even after the show on JP, Kathy, and the Crew on Facebook. So we would love to have you join us there. In fact, Sid, it looks like we have a couple questions for some members of the Crew for Delisa. Go right ahead.
Yeah, one of the members of the Crew, Michelle, her question is straight and to the point here. Should kids 14 and 9 have a voice when blending a family?
Oh, like in the decision to blend a family, that is a big decision for a 14 and 9-year-old to have. I think it's, if your kids do not like your partner, that is going to be a tough row to hoe, as my grandpa used to say. But ultimately, I think that, you want their input, you want to know if they don't like your partner, but it's the two of you. The two of you are the ones who are deciding to marry, deciding to build this family together. You may want to know, what is it about my partner? What is it, that you're worried about? But I think that is a big one, and you might need to explore it some, but it is a big responsibility for a 14 and 9-year-old to have input into whether or not to marry.
And I would also say if I was the stepdad going into that situation, I would want to know if that woman's children did not want us to blend families, because that may make me want to change my mind as well. I need to know if this is a situation I want to step into as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And there was another question as well.
It was from Gail. It says, what happens when their parent from the other household sabotages your efforts?
Yeah. Tough one. Obviously the ideal situation is when the exes can be civil, and everyone can treat everyone with respect, because you want to let your blended family know that, you don't have to like each other. We don't have to have, great family get-togethers, but you will treat each other with respect. And so you don't want to badmouth your ex. And the hope is that your ex will not badmouth you or try to sabotage you. And so you at every effort, if you can try to shield your blended family, your new family, from anything that's going on outside of that, that's ideal. But sometimes you just can't, and that's what's going on. But you just want to make the kids as unaware of that or as unaffected by that from your end as possible.
Lisa, you mentioned something earlier about the time frame that it can take for a family to really blend effectively, being somewhere between 2 and 4 years. And that can be a particularly long amount of time while that process is going on. How much advance notice do you explain to them that might take that long? And what are the tools that you give to them to make it through that period of time so they can successfully blend in that window?
Yeah. I think I just usually say to them, this is going to take time. And we're just all here working together. I'm happy to be here. I'm here for you. I was running a little bit late today because my stepdaughter to be just had her 16th birthday, and she wanted me to do her eyeliner. And so instead of my military side kicking in and saying, absolutely not, I'm going to be late, I said, okay, yeah, sure. And, I did her eyeliner.
Yeah, you don't want to discourage her from asking you to be invited into her life.
Right. So, I usually just will say things like, this is just going to take time. And yeah, we're going to have some rough spots, but you cannot be afraid to have conflict, because conflict is not the enemy. Avoidance is.
So what should the folks do who are having those frustrations during that period of time? Do they call you back, or what do they do?
They really just are patient, and they may need some extra help.
So I guess if they need that help, should we give you an opportunity to say how they might contact you?
Absolutely. I would love to give you that information.
Go right ahead.
214-618-8402, Apple Counseling.
Is there also a website?
applecounseling.com.
There you go. Thank you, Delisa.
All right. That is JP, Kathy, and the Crew for Tuesday morning. Sid, what a party.
Yes, sir. That was a good time.
What a good time. Vegas was great. The crew came out, supported our man Sid, and I'll tell you, good time had by all. Steve Dunn, the Morgan Foundation. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, John.
Patty,
Thank you.
something
Giola.
for Kelly. I don't. Giola.
Something for Kelly says thank you.
That's right. We thank them. All right, we'll be back tomorrow. Conversation. So go ahead, Patty and Steve.
Real quickly, speaking as Something for Kelly Foundation, I want to thank Delisa for wearing her Something for Kelly necklace on the air today, even though it's radio and some people can't see. Any of our Facebook fans can. And you can find some of those pendants on our website at somethingforkelly.org. Thank you for wearing it.
My pleasure. I love this. I get so many compliments on it.
Looks great. You wear it well.
Delisa, here on the show in the past, we've really pushed the idea of everyone should go in for a mental health checkup every year. Even if you don't think you need one, it's just a way to bring more understanding and enlightenment to yourself. Before people enter into a blended marriage relationship, do you strongly recommend they go to a counselor with all kids at least once or twice to get more of an objective idea of what everyone is walking into?
I mean, obviously my bias is yes. I think it's a great idea to do that. I think the parents need to start out with, some of the really practical things like, finances. Are we going to blend our finances or keep them separate? Where are we going to live? Are we going to move into one of our two houses? Are we going to get our own house together? What is our time frame? The parents need to start out with some really practical discussions, and then they need to approach the kids and, say, hey, this is our plan. And then, have a conversation about, and we're going to go to somebody that's going to help us, figure out how to do this in the best way so that everybody feels heard and comfortable.
So what is the biggest or most frequent obstacle or issue that you encounter when people come to you about the blended family?
Typically, it's that someone feels neglected, abandoned, they've lost time, things are not going the way that they thought they would go, like the expectations are just not being met. It's just change. Change is hard.
Yes, it is. That is about all I have. Next week on the Mental Health Moment, we are going to have a counselor from New Friends, New Life. They are a fantastic organization here in town that helps victims of sex trafficking get their life back.
Very important also.
Yeah.
The week after that, we're going to have some people from Acadia talking about, since it is Black History Month, we're going to be talking about some unique mental health issues faced by African Americans.
Wow.
So we are
Good
just
conversations.
thrilled about those.
Yeah.
Always good stuff.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I'm
Tune
going
in
to give
Tuesdays.
I'm going to give you guys a list of books,
Oh, perfect.
broken down by ages. That might be helpful. And then some just family resources.
That would be perfect.
That would be wonderful. And we can put them up, of course, on JP, Kathy, and the crew. We have a YouTube channel as well. We will make sure that those get posted wherever the video is, and you can have a copy of that video for a mere $500.
$500
million.
Oh, $500 million.
There you go.
Price went up.
Oh,
All right.
Delisa, thank you so much.
Oh, my pleasure.
To all the members of the crew, thank you as always. We will see you tomorrow. Sid, are you still there or are you off?
I am here. I'll see you. We'll